Hello and welcome to Wheels Boy Chat, the channel where we do long-form discussions of topics related to the Chinese car market. Thank you very much for joining us. Also joining us is my co-host, Mr. Mark Andrews.
Good to be back.
Thank you, Mark. The topic of today's video is going to be Hongqi, or red flag, one of China's oldest car brands. Actually, China's oldest car brand.
I'm
sorry.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that our most recent video from the Shanghai Auto Show about Hongqi got a ton of views, it seems like a topic that people are interested in learning more about. And I know that my co-host has some very strong opinions on the subject. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you, Mark. What do you have to say for right now? Like, talk to me about Hongqi and the Hongqi brand.
Okay. Well, I actually only watched your video last night, to be honest.
You watched it though, so that
I
counts.
did watch it. Yep, you got one extra view.
Thank you.
And one thing you actually missed was the bit around the back. There was actually this really nice display of their leathers and things like that, and brocades and
This is
stuff
why
that
I don't let Mark be in charge of content, because he wanted me to give you a tour of leathers. Though I did see that, and,
right.
and if
it's
you look
quite cool, actually.
in the background of some of our footage of the LS7, maybe you could have seen the section where it's all the different kind of bespoke leathers that you can
and
get
also
in
the
the interior.
thread and all sorts of things. It's actually really cool, and the veneer and all sorts of things.
You can
really
customize them.
nice.
Yeah, as you saw in the interior of those cars, you can customize them to a pretty incredible degree. So that is a good point.
But you concentrate purely in the video about the sunflower or golden sunflower series.
Yes.
Now, there were two other cars on the stand that you didn't mention.
True.
And this is where things start getting heated.
This is where it starts to go in a negative direction. So
Indeed.
we did indeed not. We failed to talk about the two concept cars.
Yes.
I will.
And we're
correct you
not even sure how much concept they are. I mean,
or how much production. Yeah.
Well, we're led to believe that they're near production ready. And we better name them first of all. So there's the E001
Thanks for
and
writing that
the
down, 'cause I wouldn't remember
E202. So the E001 is a sedan, and the E202 is an SUV. And
Great
they
names.
were in
Great
some,
names, by the way.
very imaginative, yeah. And they were in some really pretty wacky colors and with some equally wacky interiors when it came to colors, like we're sort of talking about greens, purples, and all sorts of colors there.
Yes.
But there was one key thing missing. What was the key thing missing?
Any information about them?
Well, that's part of the course, isn't it?
Yes.
For a Chinese car show.
Oh, yes. We discussed this previously. There was no red flag, signature red flag.
Yeah, it normally has this red flag emblem on the bonnet, and that is what makes a Hongqi a Hongqi, or at least visibly. Admittedly, they do have a small sort of flag on the side with the, and they're also now no longer calling these two models Hongqis. They're now calling them Hongqi New Energy. So they're actually sort of carving out a new brand. So I think they're trying to do what GAC did with Ion. So GAC actually created GAC NE, GAC New Energy. I got an invite from them ages ago and sort of went to their factory and whatever, and that's when they showed the Ion S. And now if you look at the Ion range, they don't have the G badge anymore. They've got rid of that. They now got some other badge, especially of their own. And also on these Hongqi concepts, this E001 and E202, catchy. They've got a sort of new style, it's like a kind of wing type thing, I think, if I can remember correctly.
Yes, I can already hear my videographer editor complaining to me about having to find footage of these cars, but we will hopefully be able to do it.
I've got photographs of them if needs be.
We'll flash up some photos. Worst case scenario, we will give you guys some still images. So you were saying, yes?
Yeah, I mean, this to me seems a problem because Hongqi has a huge heritage. Hongqi started in 1958. You had the CA72, which was designed as a limousine for the state leaders. And it was basically the second passenger car produced in China, the first being the Dongfeng. But that was also by FAW as well. It wasn't Dongfeng Motors, it was it was just a car called Dongfeng.
FAW being the first
automobile
works, the mother company of the Hongqi brand.
Yeah, yeah. So since then, it's been associated with the upper echelons of leadership. You had the CA 770, which had a long production run and sort of finally ceased in the 1980s. And then Hongqi did try and fiddle with various other cars to try and create double. And in fact, Lincoln as well, they had a few based on Lincolns. Lincoln Town cars.
This is news to me.
I did a whole article about it. So.
Yeah, send me a link. Maybe we'll post it in the description.
And what really, though, where I think Hongqi really started to go wrong was when it got hold of the Chrysler 2.2 engine and the plans to the C3 Audi 100. And a match made in heaven, of course.
Heaven's not where I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, Audi 100 obviously is somewhat of a classic.
Yeah.
The Chrysler 2.2. I'm trying to remember what kind of reputation that engine has. I hear Chrysler and I go, probably not good. But either way, an interesting pairing.
Yeah, so you had all sorts of offshoots from these. You had a pretty much straight-on Audi 100 C3, which was then known as the Ming-Shi. Then you had a stretched version, and they did those. They began to look less and less like an Audi 100, and they were known as the Shiji Xing series. But you had all sorts of variants. You had a pickup truck variant. You had a wagon version, but we're not talking about just the beautiful C3 Audi 100 Avant. Oh no, it's far worse looking than that. So, I mean, to me, I'm sorry, C3 100 Avant is almost the pinnacle of Audi design, along with the Audi Quattro.
Good Lord.
But
making really bold statements here.
But yeah, you need to see this wagon that Hongqi produced. It was really horrible.
Hopefully it's being splashed up on the screen right now.
Yeah, if we can find a picture of it.
Find a photo, yeah.
Yeah, so they did no end of damage to the brand.
Right.
And my first experience with actually driving a Hongqi was back in 2013. So they had the H7 at that point. I think it'd been launched either that year or the year before. And that was essentially based on a Toyota Crown.
Yes.
And it was all right. I mean, it wasn't great. But from that point on, Hongqi began to sort of reestablish itself. But now it just seems to be tearing itself apart again. I mean, sorry to bore you with some sales figures, but I've got them all in front of me.
Important context though, because if you looked at the sales numbers for around 2013 and stuff, they were pretty abysmal. We have them starting in
We've got
2018.
from 2018. So 2018 sales for Hongqi brand were 26,605. Now, this is the peak they have ever reached. It was 2021. 300,613. So that's a huge increase in that time.
Yeah.
They went down slightly last year, so only around about just under 286,000 last year.
Yes.
So there's a slight decrease. Maybe it's a blip. Maybe it's a trend. Who knows? What do you reckon?
I don't know. I don't know who the customer base is for the Hongqi brand because
Nor does Hongqi. This is the problem.
Not what?
Nor does Hongqi, and that's the problem.
Oh, yes. Yes, I do think you're right, because on its face, it is a very, well, I only have anecdotal evidence, and basically the guy who let us borrow his Hongqi EHS9, first of all said, I wanted something relatively low-key, which is obviously hilarious. But also, he said, the reason he said that is because the Hongqi brand is a domestic brand, it's a Chinese brand, and if you were to drive a equivalently priced or even sized foreign brand, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, it will be much more attention-getting to a certain segment of people, as opposed to a domestic brand like Hongqi. It's like, you know, this guy just loves China. He just loves, he's very patriotic and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but it's still got a cachet about it, I would say.
I guess it does. I honestly, and maybe those of you who are, well, hold on, those of you that are from China, maybe that have more historical perspective or experience in China than I have, because I've only been here for 10 years, and this guy's been here for a while,
19,
but we weren't born here. I picture Hongqi very similar to the way that I think of Cadillac in the States, meaning that there's a generation of people that see it as having a very high-end image and being kind of the pinnacle of what China does. And then there's everyone else that's not 60 years old, anyone less than 60. I do not know if that's true, and I'd be curious to see if our fans could maybe give us more context for that. But
I think where it started going wrong was with the EQM5.
Oh, yes. I have been riding in a car with Mark, and we have passed an EQM5, which is the very strange-looking electric
It's got
compact
nothing to
sedan.
do with its looks.
No. I believe you.
Well,
but we passed
well,
one,
I mean, the looks are unfortunate, yes.
Mark has a visceral reaction. He's like, whenever he sees an EQM5.
Yeah.
Now tell me why.
It shouldn't be a Hongqi. They should never have made that car as a Hongqi. They should have marketed it as a Bestern or whatever the FAW brand is.
Bestune, yeah.
Because it is aimed as a ride-hailing car.
Yeah.
It's going back to this taxi thing with the Audi 100, well, I should say, the Ming-Shi. It's going back to that. You're just doing the brand a disservice. It's a battery-swapping, ride-hailing car, not a Hongqi.
Right, and so you're worried about...
You're doing harm.
I agree. Well, because you can't have the EHS9, which is like a flagship, really impressive vehicle.
The L5 even, or the
L5,
what you had in your video.
Oh yeah, the LS7 and H9 Plus, and then also have that car. Yeah, I agree that it kind of brings the brand down a bit, even if it does really maybe increase sales volume.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm sure that's what their goal was.
Yeah.
Now, so if I may interpret, do you worry that this new trend of these Hongqi New Energy, the E001, E202, I have to read them off of here because they're so boring, I forget them every time.
Let's hope they actually pick more inspiring names rather
Fingers
than
crossed.
those for what the actual production models.
It's not like their regular car models are particularly interesting. They're also alphanumeric, like all other high-end brands.
H6 and, I mean, the H6 is a decent-looking car, I think. And,
well, I'm talking about names, but
right, yeah.
The point being, do you worry that they're going to further dilute the brand with this? Or what?
Yeah, because they're also talking about doing battery swapping again. I mean, it seems to me that they're going after more ride-hailing cars, perhaps. I don't know.
It could be. It could be.
And also, as I said, why get rid of that hood ornament? That's one of the major things that's about Hongqi identity.
I will tell you that, and you know, living in Shanghai, that it's pretty awesome to be at night. The light profile on the Hongqis is awesome when they're coming at you, because you see this just streak of red down the hood.
You've got a lightsaber coming at you from the dark side.
Seriously, it's very. And so it is very, very cool. And it's sad for me to see them to get rid of that completely instead of maybe evolving it in some direction. But yeah, I don't know. I will say this much. Given the historical context you've provided today, I am also a little bit concerned about it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they sort out the direction, because the brand has got a lot of potential, I think. But you have to be careful when it comes to heritage. I mean, sure, you want to increase your sales or whatever, but you don't want to do it to the extent where you actually destroy your brand, which is what they have done previously.
Let's just say that we wouldn't put it past them to do something very silly, and to maybe put out, and as a final note, these concept cars, how do I put this delicately? I find them highly unattractive. I find them very strange looking. Their colors were crazy.
They were very crazy.
Not attractive crazy. Not like Xpeng G6 orange kind of, just unattractive to me. and kind of weird and bulbous looking. And
they were certainly getting attention, mind you.
They were. And if that's all they wanted, then mission accomplished. But if they're trying to make cars that would look good, let's just say I think they're going to have to work hard to make their production versions look a lot better, I hope.
Possibly, yeah.
I think that they're going to have a challenge ahead of them. Yeah, I mean, any closing thoughts here? Well, then I think we can call it a day there on the topic of Hongqi, and it's not altogether positive. Even though we're looking forward to getting a drive in some future Hongqis. There's the H5 now looks like an H9, so I've got to get behind the wheel of one of those. Thank you for joining us as we delve into the history of and current status of China's oldest car brand. We appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to comment below with any thoughts you have on what we had to say about Hongqi, anything you have to say about Hongqi. And again, to reiterate, what do you, especially if you have a background in China, how do you feel like the people in your life or yourself, you feel about the Hongqi brand? Where do you think it stands in the Chinese car market? I would be genuinely curious to hear that. Either way, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.